fights. Second fight will be Buddha, yeah.
I jumped on it right away when they said, Chris, he got that killer instinct. He know what it takes to get it done.
4 minutes.
That's why it's easy training with him.
Where you go revert back to try and get under my skin.
Truth.
Say what you like. Say what you like. I'm gonna systematically beat you. Systematically beat you. Oh, you like that word? Systematically beat you November 15th.
That's the biggest fight I've had you.
Oleksander Usyk reacts on Chris Eubank Jr. monster training for Conor Benn rematch. Even a master like Usyk knows when a matchup carries real intrigue. His calm tone says it all. He senses intensity in Eubank's preparation and believes the rematch has the potential to deliver something powerful for the fans.
Fight, because it's a great fight, rematch. I think people could feel.
Chris Eubank Jr. looks razor sharp in this camp. Under Bomac's guidance, his movements are tighter, his punches snap with real authority, and there's a dangerous calmness in the way he works. This is a focused version of Eubank, one that carries a threat Conor Benn cannot afford to overlook.
The power's gonna be there, come on. There we go. Step off on the side, come on. There we go. I gotta keep that hand at home. Gotta keep that hand home. There we go. Jump the line. There we go. Good work. Stop going straight backwards. Come on.
And that sharpened edge becomes even clearer once you see how he handles himself in sparring. Chris Eubank Jr. shows exactly why this rematch feels different. His timing is cleaner, his counters are sharper, and there's a real authority behind every exchange. You can see a fighter who understands the assignment and is drilling with purpose. This version of Eubank is carrying momentum that looks genuinely dangerous. Chris Eubank Jr. speaks with a calm certainty here. You can feel he's still carrying unfinished business. That hunger to dominate, not just win, is driving his preparation now. He wants clarity, he wants authority, and his mindset shows he's coming to remove all doubt in the rematch.
I won the first fight, but I won it in a fashion which I was proud of, but at the same time, there was disappointment in that victory. I wanted to make sure that he didn't see the 12th round. I wanted to make sure that there was no question who the better fighter was.
Bomac doesn't hesitate for a second. His confidence in Chris Eubank Jr. is absolute. He believes Conor Benn has no route to victory because the psychological advantage now sits firmly with Eubank. Every face-off, every exchange, every moment of experience counts, and Bomac sees Chris growing stronger in all of them.
For me to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway, Bomac. Is there any way you can see Conor Benn beats your guy?
No, I can't, for the simple fact that it's hard to beat the guy that already didn't beat you. I mean, I can see that Chris is beating him at everything. The press conference, the stare downs, the fight. To me, he got his number, you know, and I think he's going to be in a better position coming into this next fight because Chris knows what to expect.
Conor Benn tries to paint Chris Eubank Jr. as paranoid, but his tone gives away frustration more than confidence. While Eubank sharpens his craft, Benn seems stuck in emotional reactions. This isn't the composure you expect from a man preparing to face a slicker, smarter, and far more dangerous Eubank in the rematch.
I don't like Chris, I don't have to like him, but no one's out to hurt anybody here. You know, and it's a shame that he lives in that world of paranoia where he genuinely believes that anybody's out to get him because nobody will.
Even Eddie Hearn's words reflect concern. He knows Conor Benn can't simply charge in and swing wildly against Chris Eubank Jr. The first fight already showed that Eubank's size, control, and ring IQ create real problems for Benn. If Conor comes in relying purely on toughness, he's stepping into a trap Eubank is more than ready to exploit.
I mean, you have to follow the weight classes. You have to follow directions and orders, and you know that's why we have weight classes. For 1 pound makes a huge difference. I mean, this guy was almost fainting trying to make.
Tony Bellew challenges Eubank's boxing identity, but his critique almost highlights the opposite. Eubank has evolved, refined, and sharpened his approach under Bomac. While critics talk, Chris shows his growth in the gym and in the ring. If Bellew believes technique alone defines this rematch, he may be overlooking the discipline and dangerous improvement Eubank is bringing this time.
Conor is a far better fighter than Chris Eubank Jr. is a boxer, technically. Yeah. And that's the problem that Chris Eubank Jr. is having. He's got this thing in his mind, he's a masterful boxer. You know. I'm sorry, no, you're not.
Johnny Nelson suggests Conor Benn will be better in the rematch, but his analysis almost ignores the bigger truth. Chris Eubank Jr. has not declined. If anything, he has matured mentally and physically. The idea that Benn can simply bridge the gap because he survived the first fight overlooks how controlled Eubank was throughout that night. Chris boxed with patience, discipline, and a level of composure Benn wasn't expecting. The fact Benn hung on does not mean he solved Eubank. It simply means Chris didn't push for the finish. In this camp, he clearly intends to. Nelson's perspective is interesting, but it underestimates how much sharper, calmer, and more prepared Eubank looks this time around.
Does that mean you think do you think Conor Benn will be better in the second fight?
Yes.
Does that mean that you think that by him being better and there's no more left from Chris Eubank, that Conor Benn's able to bridge the gap,
Yes.
get an outcome in the second fight?
Without a doubt.
You do?
He couldn't have done any more. If he could have knocked out Conor in that fight, he would have done.
Yeah.
He just couldn't get rid of him. And Conor stuck it. So regardless of him being surprised that Conor stuck it out a lot more, he couldn't get rid.
And that point becomes even clearer when you hear Duke McKenzie break down the rematch dynamics. Duke McKenzie brings the clearest viewpoint so far. He sees what many analysts recognize but hesitate to say. Chris Eubank Jr. simply has too many built-in advantages: size, strength, experience, and a psychological calm that Benn hasn't demonstrated. McKenzie's point about Eubank starting several rounds ahead mentally is spot on. Chris has already felt Benn's best, already controlled him once, and now enters with an even more refined game plan. Benn's energy and aggression might look entertaining, but they don't erase the technical and physical gaps. For McKenzie to say he'd be shocked if Eubank loses shows how convincing the evidence is. This rematch is Eubank's fight to command from the opening bell.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Eubank loses. I don't really see that happening. Again, he's fighting a career-best welterweight. He knows that. From a psychological perspective, when you know you've got a smaller guy in front of you, you kind of start 2 or 3 rounds up in your own mind.
Ade Oladipo acknowledges the size factor, and that's exactly where the rematch tilts toward Chris Eubank Jr. Feeling Benn's power and knowing he can hurt him gives Chris an enormous strategic advantage. Eubank has already downloaded the data. He knows the timing, he knows the intensity, and he knows Benn's limitations up close. Ade hints Benn might improve, but improvement doesn't guarantee overcoming Eubank's physical and technical presence. Experience, discipline, and maturity all sit with Chris, and that matters more in a rematch than raw ambition. The talk about age is overstated because Eubank looks fresher and calmer than ever under Bomac. The real question is whether Benn can cope when Chris steps in with full confidence.
Ultimately, in the end, sort of bigger guy won it. The rematch is going to be interesting, I think. He's now realised that I can hurt that fighter. I've felt the other fighter's power. Next time, I know what's coming. I think he might even do better in the next one. I think he's got a shout to win it.
And Eubank's older.
I get these fights, but you do want to see Benn, can you kick on to try and win a...
Adam Smith lays out the stakes beautifully, and his breakdown highlights why this rematch carries real weight for Chris Eubank Jr. A win here would not only silence critics, but reopen the doors to a world title shot, something Eubank has been chasing for years. Under Bomac, he already looks refreshed, sharper, and fully committed. He is no longer fighting with ego, but with clarity and structure. That shift alone could redefine the next chapter of his career. At the same time, Smith recognizes the one thing giving Benn false confidence. Surviving the distance last time has convinced Benn that he can push harder now, but surviving and winning are two different worlds. Eubank controlled that fight, dictated the pace, and never looked in danger. Benn went the distance, yes, but he never looked close to winning. This time the dynamic is different. Eubank has improved, refined, and matured. Benn is hoping the past gives him belief, but Eubank is preparing to show that the past means nothing when the levels are truly different.
Good fight, and I think Eubank Jr., if he gets this win, and there's a new lease of life maybe under Bomac, 2026, maybe finally he could become a world champion, but he's got to get past Conor Benn first, and Conor Benn, not just hungry for revenge, he believes he can win this because of what happened first time round, because he went 12 rounds at middleweight, up in class, after a long layoff. Some people fancy Benn in this.
George Groves taps into the emotional side of Chris Eubank Jr.'s journey, and it is an angle many fans overlook. Eubank has already experienced huge moments in stadiums, headline nights, and that unforgettable feeling of putting on a performance with his father watching from ringside. Groves suggests that after such highs, maintaining the same fire can be difficult, but what he misses is how this current version of Eubank has evolved. This is not the same fighter who was chasing moments. This is a disciplined, structured, and mentally mature athlete who is now chasing legacy. Groves also hints that Conor Benn might have a chance, but his reasoning leans more on emotion rather than a technical or physical breakdown. Benn's desire cannot outweigh Eubank's experience or the improvements he has shown under Bomac. Chris looks calmer, fresher, and more focused than he did back in those massive stadium nights. If anything, Groves' comments remind us that Eubank has already been through wars, pressure, and spotlight. Benn is still trying to reach the level Eubank has lived at for years. That difference matters massively in a rematch with real stakes.
I think maybe Conor Benn beats him. I think if I was Eubank, my point was at the time, I was like, mate, like you have just climbed your Everest. You've just headlined a stadium. You've beat what is now a rival in spectacular fashion in terms of getting the win with your dad by your side and all the hooting and hollering that went on between, amongst it. You can't top that feeling. I don't begrudge you if you want to earn more money out of the sport, but be careful because you look way past his best.
Hamza Shiraz confidently predicts Conor Benn inside 6 rounds, but his logic rests heavily on assumptions rather than the actual flow of their first fight. Yes, the weight cut affected Chris Eubank Jr. previously, but this time, the circumstances are entirely different. Eubank is not draining himself recklessly. He is working under a world-class team and he looks sharper, fresher, and far more structured than before. The idea that Benn can simply overwhelm him early ignores the technical gaps that were exposed last time. Benn had moments, but he never controlled the ring or the rhythm. Eubank dictated distance, jabbed consistently, and looked comfortable throughout. Hamza's prediction seems more like a bold statement than an analysis based on timing, footwork, or ring IQ. If Benn wants a stoppage, he has to take risks, and taking risks against a renewed Eubank is a dangerous game. Chris has seen Benn's best. Benn has never seen this improved version of Eubank. That imbalance makes Hamza's early stoppage prediction feel more hopeful than realistic. Eubank thrives in longer fights. If Benn doesn't get him early, the momentum shifts firmly to Chris.
What's your prediction, Ben or Eubank?
I've got Conor Benn to win inside 6 rounds. I feel like the weight will affect Eubank too much on how it affected him before as well. And it was a hard fight. It wasn't an easy fight. Yeah, Conor Benn to win inside about.
Gordon Ramsay may not be a boxing analyst, but his breakdown is surprisingly sharp and brutally honest. He highlights the most important dynamic of the rematch. Conor Benn still has to fight outside his natural weight class, while Chris Eubank Jr. remains the naturally bigger, stronger, and more durable man. That alone shifts the later rounds heavily in Chris's favor. Ramsay's point about Benn needing to get the job done early aligns with what most technical analysts already know. Benn has a small window of opportunity, and if he doesn't capitalize, the momentum swings completely toward Eubank. Chris has the engine, the chin, and the ring IQ to take this fight deep. Benn is explosive, but explosions burn out quickly when they fail to land clean. Ramsay predicting Chris to win shows he understands the physical mathematics of the matchup. Once the pace settles and the exchanges become more tactical, Eubank's experience and calm approach will take over. Benn must gamble early. Chris simply has to remain composed and let the fight come to him. It is a simple equation. Over 6 rounds, Benn is dangerous. After 6 rounds, Eubank becomes overwhelming.
Lose. And jumping up a weight is hard, but jumping up 2 is even harder. So Chris has got the advantage if it goes past 6. Ben's got to get this done early, otherwise it's going to be Chris's. I predict Chris in round 6.
As this rematch draws closer, the stakes feel heavier than ever. Chris Eubank Jr. is no longer searching for validation. He is fighting with structure, confidence, and a renewed sense of purpose under Bomac. A victory here does more than settle a rivalry. It puts him back into the world title conversation and reopens the path many thought had closed. For Conor Benn, this is his chance to rewrite the story. If he shocks the world, he finally steps out of the shadow of his last performance. But that requires discipline, patience, and a level of control he has not consistently shown. Benn must be flawless. Eubank simply has to be himself. The rematch sits on a razor's edge, but the advantages still lean toward the bigger, calmer, and more experienced Eubank. So tell me, Who are you backing on Fight Night? Is Chris Eubank Jr. taking over again? Or is Conor Benn ready to flip the script? Drop your predictions below.